Well, here's a story, a personal story that happened with me. This must have been like 40 years ago. It used to be that the Rebbe gave out dollars. There was how long? I'm sorry, it was like 6 years or something like that. The Rebbe stood in front of his office or wherever, and he would hand out dollars to people. Dollars to people. I mean, there must have been. He must have, every Sunday he would hand out dollars. Probably every Sunday he would hand out, I don't know, maybe 5,000, $10,000. A lot of people were there. A lot of people would go. There would be a separate line for men, a separate line for women. He would stand for hours. To every person, he would give $1 and he'd say blessing and success. And some people he would give like little advice or say things to them, whatever it was. But the idea was is he would give you $1 and encourage you that you should also give that dollar or exchange it, keep that dollar for yourself and give another dollar to charity. He encourage people to give charity because it's not a natural thing. People don't naturally give charity. If somebody asks you for a charity, it's very easy to just walk by it. So give charity. The word we want to encourage giving charity. Okay. Once there was rain outside, it rained outside, and so they diverted these whole long lines to going winding around in through the synagogue of the Rebbe. Where the women went, I don't know. There must have been a place for them also. But people came prepared with umbrellas and stuff. The people that had to stand outside. And there were huge long lines. And there were poor people that would go down the lines and ask people for donations before they got to the Rebbe and also after they got to the Rebbe. Because the whole point of the thing with the Rebbe was encouraging people to give charity. So there were women, poor women that went to collect from women, and poor men that came to the men. And so, okay, so the line was diverted to the inside, and the whole line took, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours, something, in order to go from the end to the beginning. And let's say about an hour of it was in the building of the Rebbe, the synagogue of the Rebbe. Anyway, so that was it. So there was this poor person. For some reason, the line stopped. It stopped for a while, or it didn't start. It started late. There was some reason why the line didn't move. So there was this one poor person that he went around and collected money from people. And I like to talk to people. So these poor people, I would say, hello, how are you? What's going? And here it ended up that the line wasn't moving. So, once he made it through the line and he went outside, then there was nothing, no action over there. A lot of times they would go outside after the Rebbe gave the dollar, then they would ask the dollar there. Anyway, so things became sort of stagnant for this guy because he had already asked everybody that was there to give him a donation. So I got into conversation with him. So I said to him, tell me, how long have you been doing this? He says, oh, I've been doing it for about 3 years, about 3 years. So I said, listen, for 3 years, have you ever once got $1 yourself from the Rebbe? Have you ever stood in line, got $1 from the Rebbe? He said, no, 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 I never got $1 from the Rebbe. So because if I would stand in line, then I would only go to the Rebbe, I would get $1. And here I can, I'm not staying in one place. I would have to stand in line, keep my place. I would only get $1. But now I can go around and I can gather people from, money. Sometimes I get, $100, even more. So I said, yeah, but a dollar from the Rebbe is a blessing. Is a blessing. So he looked at me and he said, a blessing from the Rebbe? He said, I don't need $1 from the Rebbe to get a blessing. I don't need $1. Just to see the Rebbe, that's enough of a blessing for me. Just to see. He said, I want to tell you something. He said, maybe you might think that I'm an apikoros, an apostate, right? An apostate, what do you want to say? An idol worshiper or something. He said, maybe you might think that, but I want to tell you something. He said, there's a lot of people that do sins. They lie, they cheat, they rob, they do. He says, you want to know why they do those things? So I said, why? He said, because they don't see God. They don't think that God is here. And therefore, they do all these bad things. He said, but when I see the Rebbe, I see God. He said, maybe you might think that's a forbidden thing, but I'm telling you, when I see the Rebbe, I see God. I know that there's God. And therefore, I'll never steal, I'll never lie, I'll never cheat. I'll never do anything. Okay, so what's the point of the story? This is a very simple man that he was saying these things. And on one hand, you might think that, I mean, he's got a point. I might think that this is idolatry, a human being. You say, this is God we're talking. But on the other hand, it says in the Torah that Zota Bracha Ish Elokim, that Moses was a God man, and it explains that from the half of him up was God, and the other half was, how could Moses go up on Mount Sinai and talk to God and receive God, not eat anything, not drink anything for 120 days, right? He went for 40 days, and then he went up for another 80 days. How could he do a thing like that? Right? He didn't sleep, he didn't this. Everybody else was afraid. Moses wasn't. How could it possibly be? Doesn't make any sense. The same thing with the Holy Temple. We pray today to the Holy Temple. Why? There's no place, there's no Holy Temple. And even when there was, how could we pray to a building? Because that's the whole goal of Judaism, is to realize that God is present in everything, but the essence of God is only through the Torah. You can make a big mistake. God is also in idolatry. Also in idolatry, like we just said, the golden calf, that was also God. God wanted. But there's things that says in the Torah you shouldn't do. That's called idolatry. But anything that brings you closer to the Torah, that's the idea of Mashiach. That's the idea of the Holy Temple. That's the idea of Moshe. And that's the idea of the Rebbe. So that's what he said. When I see the Rebbe, I see God. I know that God is. Have a good day with Mashiach now. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock.